For those of us that are joining us now and have been patiently waiting, first off, thank you. We've just been getting some technical difficulties here, some connection issues, but through the grace of God, we're all here, and we're live and well. That's the good part.
Thank God.
So welcome guys to a new episode of Moments with Epic and Friends, and tonight our very special friends are friends of ours that we met from World Youth Day in Panama. Give it up for Jesse Demara, who's right here below me. Brother, thank you so much for joining us. And if you guys want to do a quick intro of yourselves, what you guys are about and all.
Well, first off, great to be here. Excited to see you guys. And we haven't seen each other since last year in Panama.
Wow.
For real.
When we could all hug each other. Yeah. Although none of you guys hugged us because you guys were like, didn't want any. I mean, I don't know why. I have no idea why. Because we're such huggable people, but anyway, these two good-looking fellows here on the screen are God's creation. Yes, my name's Jesse. I'm from Arizona, born and raised in Yuma, Arizona, small city on the west coast of the U.S. My parents are from Mexico, so I'm Mexican American.
Nice.
What else can I say? I've been serving God. Gave my life to the Lord when I was really young. So a good 25 years since I'd given my life to Christ, and I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change any moment. It's been amazing. It's been an awesome adventure, roller coaster that's just been amazing. And in that walk with Christ, I've met amazing people that the Lord's put in my life, like Tavo. His name's Octavio. Well,
and I've been serving the Lord since I was 14, and also Mexican American.
Wow.
Here from southern border. It's been
putting
up with this dude for the past 20 years of my life. So
yeah,
it's been quite a walk.
That's amazing. Yeah. So we were talking about it before we got on. You guys are in quarantine with each other?
Yes.
Yes, roommates, awesome.
Yay.
It was nice. Blessings on blessings.
I can feel the excitement.
This guy doesn't like talking. Like literally when we take road trips, which I know you guys have had, I've seen some videos of your guys' road trips for missions and stuff. Like we've driven up to like 14 hours, like to Utah and stuff like that. And this guy will play like Gregorian chant, which is awesome. It's beautiful.
Well,
it's beautiful.
I'll turn off the radio. I'll just drive in silence.
He prefers to drive in complete silence for hours nonstop, and he won't let me speak. And it's like, don't speak. No. So, anyways, and so it's crazy. It's horrible. So now, to be quarantined with this person
who doesn't speak.
Jesse
has to go into his own restroom and fight with himself in the mirror.
The highlight of my life is at 3 p.m. we get together because my alarm goes off so we can pray the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and he'll walk out of his dungeon. He'll walk out of his dungeon, his bedroom, and he'll be like, "Okay, I heard your alarm. Let's pray," and that's it.
You gotta make yourself in the mirror thing is key. You gotta keep that conflict going, man. You gotta do it.
Yes, awesome. Eye of the tiger.
Eye of the tiger. No. I really like singing little songs that go with whatever you guys say. It's like
keep it going the entire live stream.
I love beautiful moments.
Amazing, brother. I just want to let you know. I was going to let you know before we logged on. You have an amazing gift from the Lord. All of you guys do, but your voice. Think that I'm a singer. I really can. I love. And Jessica. I mean, of course, my tocaya there. She's amazing. But
yes,
but I love hearing male vocalists that are awesome.
Thank you, man. That's glory to God. It's only I'm trying to give back to Him. That's all it is.
Amen.
I appreciate it, man. And we were just talking before. We were talking about some of our favorites of your guys' and the atmosphere that you guys create and your music. My favorite personally is Rua. You guys were saying that's an older song, and I was listening to it earlier today, and I really love it. So it's really cool to be able to kind of share in this time with other people that are doing the same thing as us, that we've been able to do this during the time of the lockdown. I'm gonna share with artists like yourselves that create an environment for people to worship in, and it's cool to share this time with you guys, especially because we're friends of what you guys are doing. So
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
I know that one song
favorite,
that
my favorite is Tu Amor, because you can move to it.
That's a really good one. That's a really good
And
one.
it's an oldie, but I really like it. I love like charismatic songs. So
See, you're making me feel old because that's actually a new release.
is it? It's last year. Well, I mean,
dude.
I mean, in musician terms, like
yesterday is
That's
old
true.
already.
yeah.
True, actually.
You got a good point there. By the way, everyone, we should probably clear this up. How we're gonna for all the people out there. So we got Jesse Demara, and we got Jess on the bottom right. So it's I guess we'll just go with that, Jess and Jesse. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can call me
like
Jay,
I said,
it's
I'm
fine.
the good. I'm the good-looking one here. Like I don't know if you that different. Maybe we can start a poll here. Who's better looking? Or something, Which
all right, if you're watching right now, comment below which Jesse's better looking.
We actually went through this the other day with Ricky Vasquez, because my name is Ricky, his name is Ricky, so we were trying to do Ricky 1 and Ricky 2. It's been a whole thing, so we're now.
Yeah, I know, and it's crazy because they both grew up in the same parish. They both served in the same parish. They're from the same part of Florida.
Kind of weird.
They're both Puerto Rican heritage. So
are you guys all Puerto Rican?
No. So I'm Venezuelan.
I'm Dominican and Puerto Rican.
And I'm Dominican, full Puerto Rican.
Charlie is Puerto Rican full as well. Danny's Puerto Rican. But there was actually a time we had an 8-piece band at a certain point where people came from all different places. So it's
oh yeah.
Pretty cool. We're very eclectic.
We had Puerto Rican, we had a Cuban, we had a Colombian, It's all good. All from South Florida, born and raised.
Awesome barbecues.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Parties every day.
That's awesome. So how's Miami? You guys live in Miami. How's everything over there?
Am
I taking over this interview? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I think it's good to talk about our present situation, especially when we talk about the hope that we can have for it. But at least for us right now, I can speak for myself that things have been more or less chill. Just making sure whenever I'm outside, whatever that is, trying to minimize that and making sure I got a mask on. All the stores are mandating that you have to wear a mask when you're inside. So everyone's being cautious, which is good.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Everyone's being cautious.
But talking about the pandemic, as artists, we wanted to do this whole getting to know our fellow Catholic artists and friends, just to continue to cultivate relationship and see how you guys are doing, but also connect as artists, because right now in this time it's really hard as an artist to kind of live our artist life, because we can't be around people, we can't do our things, we can't go to shows, we can't go to gigs, we can't do anything, we can't minister personally and physically. So how has this pandemic affected you guys? What's been the biggest kind of hurdle for you guys in this time?
Well, there's been quite a few. I mean, there's been quite a few challenges in this case. I mean, because we finished a tour through Honduras, Mexico City, and then Northern California. We did those 3 places right before the pandemic. So when we arrived in Yuma, our hometown, it was when everything was kind of beginning. Right. So we had traveled through these 2 countries and then California. So we came back home and we both had colds. So we
just immediately quarantined ourselves
because we had no idea if this could be something to do with with the virus or whatever. So it was really freaky. Thank God we checked ourselves out, went to the doctor, and everything's fine. It was just a sinus infection from the traveling, from the change of weather.
Good, praise God.
And stuff like that. Yeah, praise God. But it was really stressful because not only was it a challenge to be quarantined, but it was also that struggle to maintain, to be strong and face the situation, because I struggle with anxiety also for years, and even though I've said this in a couple of interviews, people need to know, we are Catholic artists, we are ministers, we do speak about
we are
Christ,
men and women of faith, but
men and women of faith, but we still have our difficulties, and we're
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
flesh, and we're still
human.
still human beings, and it's fine to struggle with anxiety. It's normal. You're a human being. And so I've been sharing that with people, because a lot of people have been writing to me like, brother, I'm struggling with depression. With these days have been so difficult.
Right.
And I understand you, because I went through that same situation. I mean, I had to like, actually, as soon as I got better from my cold, I had to visit with my doctor and tell him, hey, you know what? My anxiety level is super high. I'm concerned. What do I do? And so, I just had to like, grab on, more to Christ and more to prayer, have a, increment my prayer life, and of course stay away from the news, a little bit, from social media, and it's also good to kind of detox from that information. I'm not saying that social media is bad, no, not at all, but sometimes you do need to like stop, just reading all these articles that come out. Like sometimes randomly my mom would call me and be like, "Ay, el corona es en la carne," it's like,
they all went vegan for like a week.
Wow.
My parents went vegan for a day, and then she saw another thing on Facebook saying that COVID was in broccoli, so nobody would eat broccoli, So it's like,
wow.
So it's kind of like, things like that. Those that have Latino moms can understand me.
Yeah, I guess the people.
Crazy
Well,
kids.
not even just Latino moms, but Latino dads. Like my dad, his anxiety is off the roof. I haven't, like, the first month or two, like I wasn't allowed to set foot outside my house, or else like my dad was, because he was watching it, like everything you're saying. He's watching the news, like he's getting all this information that's kind of like getting to his head, and fear is instilling inside him, which then instills fear inside the whole house. So it's like,
Yeah.
dude,
it's like,
true story that just happened to me. I had my follow-up appointment this Friday, because I had my blood work and all that stuff, my yearly blood work. It so happened that it's during all this time, so so I had my blood work, and so I had the results Friday. But everything's fine. I know you guys are concerned, thank God. Thank you for
I mean, good to hear. Yeah, totally.
I really appreciate the get well letters from Rick and I. That's beautiful. So anyways, it was so funny because my doctor is, I just initiated with this new doctor, and he's Latino also, and it was hilarious because he's like, well, how's your anxiety? How's that? I'm concerned about that because times are getting tough and blah blah. And I'm like, I was like, no, I'm doing really well. So anyways, at the end of the conversation, he says, I never thought I'd say this, but I need to prescribe something to you. And I'm like, well, what? Like, are you gonna call it into the pharmacy? And he's like, well, my prescription is stay away from your mom and your dad for a while. And he just like, he started laughing like hysterically on the phone. He's like, I never thought I'd say just stay away. These Mexican moms can be a little bit crazy during these quarantine times. So I was like, yeah, I hear you. So it was just like he was trying to be funny, and it worked. So,
you listen. And it's crazy that you're talking about that. You're talking about the anxiety that's pretty, like, we've talked about it a lot, getting on these live streams with different artists and whatnot, and just was speaking about why we're doing this, and also kind of just part of the reason is to give an encouraging word to those that follow us and those that are, follow what we do and whatnot, to remind people that God is working everything for good during this time. And it is like, it's human and it's understandable to have fear, to have worry, to experience anxiety. Jessica talks about it actually all the time when we're ministering to people and leading worship, about being real with people and being real, like, about what we're going through, because we're regular people, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we have a tremendous role to play, that the Lord has called us to, in order to lead people in environments to allow him to work in those spaces, right? When we lead worship and whatnot, of course. But at the end of the day, we're still people. We still go through things. And, we go through anxiety. We go through, all the things that you were talking about, and something that we were kind of expressing to our audience, to our followers, It's to remind everyone that the spirit of fear that we might contract, it's not given to us from God. Like the spirit, we like the Lord did not give us a spirit of fear, but in Scripture it actually tells us that He's given us a spirit of power, of love, and of sound mind. Right? To remember to be able, for us, even like I said, it is understandable for us to go through those times of fear, of worry. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff going on, and there's a lot of people in a lot of pain right now and suffering. But to remind ourselves that we have the spirit of the living God living inside of us, and that spirit is one of power and of love and of sound mind. To remind
Preach it, brother.
Absolutely.
Preach it.
Absolutely.
I need my white hat.
Yeah, but it's
Hallelujah.
You said that though, for real, because and we try to talk about it a lot, that we are regular people. We try to be authentic with people and know about, express to people the things that they're going through,
Yeah.
So it's super,
especially now.
Yeah.
But
the important thing is not to stay there. Is not to just stop. To dwell on that.
Yeah.
As Christians, we need to keep going. That's where faith comes in. That's where we just need to keep pushing. Because if we stay enclosed in that spirit of fear,
right.
If we, in the Scripture, Jesus also felt it. I mean, in La Noche ante su Pasión, the Passion,
the Garden of Gethsemane,
where he, exactly. Sorry, it's the Scripture. I know it better in Spanish, but
it's okay. It's okay.
You're good.
All right. So, so he went through it, but he didn't stay there. He said, may His will be done. So that's where we also we're going through anxiety, we're going through depression. Okay, but what are we gonna do about it? What's gonna happen? So let's stand up. Let's take a shower. Let's log on to these amazing epic lives and laugh at them.
And check out Jesse Demara's amazing music on Spotify and everywhere.
I've been telling people when they call us for interviews, Tavo's been telling them, if they're gonna be interviews to just talk about like sad stuff and the news and the pandemic, I mean, if it's just gonna be really sad, we prefer not to do it. We want to laugh. We want to bring joy to people, because God's joy. We need to start just filling our lives with the joy of Christ.
Yes.
This is the day the Lord has made.
Yes.
Let us rejoice.
I'm all about joy. I love joy.
That is very true, actually.
I know news
anchor.
Don't call me to talk about the the crisis. I want to talk about God's love.
And that's what we make. And if people had come on to see all the technical difficulties we were going through before we got on here, they would have been laughing up a storm. It would have been perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, for real. Yeah, we were like just up in prayer for a solid minute, like just Holy Spirit, help protect us with this technology.
People don't understand how funny we are. We're just like super funny. All of us, like we're just like, we should do like some comedy stand-up. We are like so funny. We are just, we're just so humble.
We try.
What's actually funny is that as a band like us, we just enjoy like laughing. We love just making light out of situations. Like if you see us, like I mean, we have our moments where we're like, oh my gosh, stressed. But then after the fact, we're just like, all right, let's just like not, and let's just be in the moment of just joy and happiness and just laughter. We laugh with each other all the time because we need to. Like we can't just stay, like you said, we can't just stay and dwell and like be all like con una actitud así de whatever. Like we need to be like lifted up, and just our spirits need to be up. And that's something that we're kind of trying to project with all these like moments with Epic, is that we might not be having shows, we might not be doing this, we might not be doing that, but the joy of the Lord is still in my heart. My spirit is still up, my spirit is still on fire regardless of whatever is going on. So I appreciate you guys for being on here with us and making me laugh, because
No, it's good. We definitely need joy in the world. And I think, at least for me, I don't know about you guys, but for me, like a lot of that joy has come from just increasing in my trust in God. Like there was a homily that I heard earlier today from Father Mike Schmitz. I don't know if you guys follow his mass, but or for anybody that's watching, if you watch his masses too. But today in his homily, you know, he was talking about how there's a lot of people that, especially college students, because he ministers in a lot of college campuses up in Minnesota, up in Minnesota. So there's a lot of people that are seeking help for like anxiety, which on the one hand, good for taking care of your mental health, like recognizing that, you know, we can rely on one another for these things, right? But at the same time, a lot of that anxiety is coming from like wanting to know things, which I really resonated with because I'm not a fan of using the word hate, but I hate not knowing things. I hate not understanding how this is gonna happen, like what's gonna happen like tomorrow from now. Like I always try to like plan ahead, and that's supposed to give me like some sort of like security, like some sort of like I do it for the sake of organization in my life because like just staying mostly at home, like things fall apart pretty quickly for me. But you know, that's really, like he was talking about how that's really just an illusion where it's like a lot of people want to know things so that they don't have to worry, but you can already choose to not worry, you know, where some things, there are things that we do need to know in order to prepare for them, like me with scheduling, so that way like I can take care of what I need to take care of in a given week. But we don't need to know things in order to have peace, because that peace can come from God, where we're really called by God to be, I love the phrasing that he uses, we're called to be untroubled by the unknown.
By the unknown. Yeah.
You know,
So
we're
good.
called to be courageous, where we can be courageous and confident, but in having that courage, because we are confident in the fact that even though we don't know what's going to happen, we know that God does know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And as long as we're maintaining our trust in him, that we're opening our hearts to him, then I at least can live in certainty, and I'm sure the rest of us can live in certainty that that's what's going to happen. You know, understanding who he is, living with him in our lives, and sharing that with the people around us. Like, bro, it's nothing but fire in this earth if we just do that. You know, quarantine or no quarantine. You know,
it's like God's not worried, so why am I worried? You know, it's kind of like why am I gonna worry if God's got me? You know, God has me already. What's the use?
Right, the battle's already won. The victory is his. Like, you know, there's no reason. You know the outcome. Like we, you know, and this life is temporary. We're living. We're not supposed to even live for this life per se. We're supposed to live for the next. You know,
for everlasting life. Exactly. Yeah.
So I you know, that's an amazing word, Ivan, for sure.
Yeah. So I know that for us, like we've been, it's funny because I feel like we've worked, personally, I feel like we've worked so much on like songs that we're coming up with, on spoiler alert, artists that we're collaborating with. But we wanted to know, like, how has the season affected you guys, like in a creative sense, you know?
On a creative sense, well, it's actually
been good.
Yeah, it's been very beneficial.
Yay,
because
praise
we've had more time to sit down and write and develop a stronger prayer life, a more
Amen.
more disciplined prayer life.
That's good, yeah.
Because when you're hopping on from one event to another, driving or flying to one city or another, you know, you kind of just find the time to pray, like, you know, in between flights or here, there, whatever. But now it's been, you know, it's more organized, more disciplined. So, you know, looking forward at 3 o'clock and looking forward, you know, to certain times. So we've had more time to actually sit down and write. We've had really close relationship with our producer in Puerto Rico, that has been working on on new production. So we're actually we had been praying for years to launch our first English single. It just never happened. And now we just received the music yesterday. So the arrangement's fully done. Now we're gonna throw down the vocals this week. And so we're really excited. We're really, really excited. It's called Open Arms. And it's
nice.
that Tavo, you know, was inspired and wrote. And yeah, so we're really, really, really excited about that. So yeah.
Have you guys announced?
So great.
Have you guys announced this yet?
We have not. No.
You heard it
here first.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Breaking news.
Actually, sorry to burst your bubble. We did
earlier today.
We had an interview this morning with Panama, with the Archdiocese of Panama.
Okay.
And
nice.
They asked me what they could expect, and I just mentioned it. But yeah, but see, they weren't excited because it's in English, so.
Yeah.
There's just like, that's cool, I guess.
Speak English.
Qué bueno para ustedes.
Yeah. We're super excited, and then like May 6th, I think I'm launching a single with Clayton Saravia, who's from Brazil. So I was
Wow. Okay.
I was asked to do a collab with him. He wrote to me. He said, hey, well, it was super hilarious. No joke. He wrote to me and said, "You are pretty."
I know that, but
I know, and I'm glad you appreciate the beauty in me. But do you mean to? I was like, "What do you mean?" And so he sends me a voice message. He sends me a voice message. He's like, "No, I meant to say you sing pretty." And I said, "Oh, okay, thank you." All right, well, thanks.
So did y'all communicate in English? Is that why, hence the confusion, or?
He was trying to he was trying to communicate in English because he thought I only spoke English. But then when I told him I spoke Spanish, it was a little easier for him to communicate in Spanish, being that Portuguese and Spanish is a little more similar.
Supposedly, it's similar.
Okay, I'm glad it's not just me, Tabo, because I feel that exact same way.
No, we were in Brazil about 10 years ago at a conference, and we weren't even able to order a burger at McDonald's because they couldn't understand what we wanted.
True story.
Oh no!
Wow.
I spoke to them. I spoke in English. I spoke in Spanish. They never understood me. Never. I don't know.
All we learned was obrigado, and that was about it.
And the other thing is, you sing pretty and you are pretty are two very different things.
Exactly.
I think he was just speaking from his heart. The Lord was the words that the Lord was placing in his heart. So yeah, follow him. He sings amazing. He's an amazing music minister, Clayton Saravia. He's awesome.
Yeah.
He's got amazing music, and this will be his first Spanish single. So
that's awesome.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
May 6th. The title's Alleluia. So Alleluia. So.
Nice. Yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye out for that.
I'm just gonna say you heard it here first as well. We like to break news.
And hopefully
that's happening a lot with us. Yes.
Maybe someday we'll be worthy to sing with Epic.
Is this what?
Hey,
of course.
Maybe we'll be worthy.
You heard it here first, people.
We're starting to release our Spanish
the
singles.
show called now? You heard it here first.
Yeah,
we should change it.
That's like our unofficial second name. Yes.
That's the new name of the show. You heard it here first.
Well, concerning like collaborations, we are like releasing more music in Spanish, so you never know.
Por supuesto.
So, which one of you guys speaks Spanish? Because I thought none of you guys spoke Spanish.
No, yo hablo español.
Yo también.
I speak Spanish, but it's very ugly. Like I was telling you guys before this. It's not even that looking, it's ugly. Like it's straight up
ugly. You are ugly, okay. So then all of you all lied to me because in Panama when I tried talking to you guys, you said, no hablo español.
That wasn't me.
Oh, yeah, I don't remember saying that.
I'm just kidding. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, I speak Spanish. I was taught because Dominican Spanish is very broken. But my parents taught me very like formal. So every time I talk Spanish when I'm in DR, they always make fun of me. It's like, ay, mira esta presenta que se cree ella. I'm like, whatever.
Whatever.
So I'm a little like timid with my Spanish, but
I'll say this: I do like singing in Spanish more than I like speaking.
Yes, I was gonna say, yeah.
I usually have the words in front of me, so that's a beautiful thing.
Oh yeah.
If we do get a chance to collaborate, which by the way, I think you guys should probably hang out after we get off the lab and we'll talk. If we do get a chance to collaborate, if I get the words in front of me, let's go. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
As long as you got the lyrics, brother, we got you.
Well, see, when I started singing, I didn't speak Spanish either. I spoke Spanish, but not as well.
Okay.
I did not know how to read Spanish at all.
Really?
Oh my God.
So yeah, because my dad spoke almost all English to us. He's a vet. He's a veteran, so he was like didn't really speak Spanish. Moved to the U.S. when he was like 7 or 8, so he was all English. But it was a psychological trauma because when we were little, growing up, my sisters and I, my mom was like, "No me hables si no es en español."
Yep.
And then we'd run to my dad and be like, "Appa, don't speak to me unless you speak English." And I was like,
oh man.
But I'm thankful because at least we learned both English and Spanish.
Yeah.
And and so yeah, but I when I started singing, I was 9 years old. It was about a couple months after I gave my life to Christ. At
Praise
the age
God.
of
Yeah.
9. Yeah, and so it
Amazing.
was a couple months after that I was sitting outside, and my sister was rehearsing for the. She was gonna dance for the festivities of Our Lady of Guadalupe, and Guadalupe. I mean Guadalupe. Sorry.
You're good. You're good.
And so it was really cold, and my aunt passed by. She was the director of the music ministry for the community, and so she's like, "Jesse, come sit inside. You're gonna get a cold or whatever." So I went inside, and then she's like, "Well, start singing so you won't be bored." She's like, "Ponte a hacer algo," and so she gave me the lyrics, and I was like, I don't know how to read Spanish, so I told her, and then so then one of the girls there started like dictating it to me and tell the words. I learned it and I started singing, and my aunt's like, "Oh, you don't sing that ugly." That's exactly what she said. That was exactly her comment. You
Nice
don't sing that
compliment.
ugly. Yeah, I was like, "Wow, thank you, man."
Love.
Thank you for the love. So, anyways, that's she's like, "You're staying in the choir. You're gonna be singing in the youth choir." I was
Oh
like,
my gosh, yes.
so yeah, that's where I discovered that I love singing, and I discovered my passion for music
Yes.
and the healing that music brings to our lives, and
Right.
Man, yeah.
that embrace of the Lord when music is just so powerful. And little did I know that music was gonna just be the source of healing for my life for the next 20 years. I mean, well, until this day, but
So good.
after that, the challenges that I had to face, just sharing a little bit about my story, like I said, I gave my life to Christ at the age of 9. And at the age of 13, 14, I had already been, serving or walking with Christ for 3, 4 years. And I discovered through a very challenging situation that my dad was using drugs.
Wow.
And my dad had been the man who had taken me to Christ, and my dad had been the person. He was a Eucharistic minister. He was in the liturgy ministry for the parish,
Right.
and he apparently was just lying to the entire community. And so it was a challenge of 20 years of a drug addiction to crystal meth that left him actually living on the streets and clinically having an overdose that completely left his brain cells damaged. I mean, when my dad came back home, he was he had hallucinations, spoke to himself. He sometimes wouldn't recognize us. He wouldn't recognize my mom, myself, and it was really challenging because all my teenage years, I'm 40 now. I turned 40 in January. My entire teenage life was, doblando rodilla, and on my knees praying,
Right.
Yeah.
praying for the Lord and trusting in His faithfulness.
Yeah.
And like I tell people in Spanish, when I discovered this at the age of 14, and the Lord spoke to me in the chapel of my parish and said, "That's why I chose you at the age of 9. That's why I chose you so young, because you are going to be the difference in your family.
Come on.
You are going to be you're going to be the way,
light.
the light for the family that's being destroyed." And so I was like, I remember yelling to Christ at in my chapel, and I told him, "Leave me alone. Leave me alone. I want to be a normal teenager.
Wow.
I told him, I want to be just like my friends. I want to go to the movies. I want to, I just want to be normal in this, what,
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to be the light of the world. At 15. That's not what I signed up for. God, I mean, I'm fine singing, but I don't, this isn't what I signed up for. And the Lord's like, "No, this is why I chose you, and I know you can do it." And it was just, and I remember that night I arrived to my chapel. It was like before noontime, and Monsignor came to close the chapel, so it was around 8 p.m. I had been there the entire day, just crying and just fighting with Christ, all day. And my pastor said, "You know what? I'm going to give you a couple minutes to just finish up," because he saw me that I was torn. And the priest knew me. I had been in the church since 9. I had the keys to the parish. Like I literally, I had my first youth group when I was 12. I was the coordinator of the youth group, so it was like,
Wow.
I was on track, and so I remember that at that last moment, I said to God, I said, "I will sing to you till my last breath. My voice will be completely consecrated to you,
Come on.
But I'm only asking you one thing, is that you give me my family back, that you heal my family. I want my mom and dad back, because my mom had fallen in the hospital with depression because we lost everything. I mean, we were financially just really set. We were financially, very stable. And when this all, when this all just exploded, my dad's addiction, he lost his job, bank repoed our house, repoed our cars, just everything left, and we kind of ended up pretty much homeless, but we didn't end up homeless. Thank God. 4 days, this actually, me and the chapel happened 4 days before we had to leave our house and not know where we were going to go.
Wow.
And, but, thankfully we were able to find a place to go and have a roof over our heads. But it was just horrible, but like I tell people, it's God. He could do the miracle, like, with the snap of a finger. He can get rid of this pandemic with the snap of his finger. Yes, he can.
Yeah.
But where's our faithfulness to him? Where's our fidelity to him?
Right.
And like I tell people, is at the age of 14, people think that after I share the story of me at the chapel and consecrating my life and my voice to him, people think that I'm gonna, the next day my dad was healed, or the next day we did not lose our house, or the next day we were fine. No, everything went horrible after that. And that's when I was faced with the beautiful time of my life of fidelity.
Right.
That marriage, that in the goodness.
That union, yep.
Yeah, in the sickness and in health, and seeing my dad get worse and worse and worse. And seeing my entire family just falling apart, addiction starting to attack my sisters also, and seeing my mom crying, when I returned from a mission in Mexico, and I was 21 already, and my mom was like, your sisters are also now there's addictions that are now your sisters are facing with, and your dad this overdose, and she's like, I just think I can't keep going, I had to. I'm not gonna lie, my knees were weak, my whole body was shaking. I was terrified because I was like, it's been so many years praying, and you're just not. It's like kind of like that movie, the Evan Almighty.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's like anytime, God, whenever. So, but I just had to, and I remember I had to sit there and look at my mom crying and just tell her, when she told me, she's like, Jesse, maybe this is God's will. Maybe he just did not want to heal our family. And I sat there and I told her, Mom, this is not the God that I gave my life to at the age of 9. The God that I've been serving and the God that I gave my life to is a God that's just gonna deliver what he promised. He's not a liar, and he is going to do it. And as I was saying this, I was shaking. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, oh my gosh, but even though I was terrified, I had to believe. I had to get it in my head and in my heart, just believe that God was gonna come through for us. And it wasn't even 2 months after this conversation when my dad jumped, ran into the house, and he was really bad, and he had lost it completely. And for the first time, he recognized me, and he knelt right in front of me and my mom. And when he knelt, I was I didn't know what he was going to do. I didn't know if he was going to get violent or what. And I remember he got my hands, and he started grabbing my hands, and he said, son, lay your hands over me and pray for deliverance of this evil. Wow. Pray for deliverance.
Wow.
And he would press my hands on his head. And I remember I didn't know, I forgot how to pray in Spanish. I forgot how to pray in English. And I just remembered my grandma telling me, Jesse, when you don't know how to pray, allow the Spirit to pray through you and pray in tongues. And I started praying in tongues at that moment. And I just started, just praying over my dad. And my mom was like yelling at me, like, Jesse, pray, pray, pray. Because I mean, this is what we had, prayed for the last, years, many years.
Yeah.
And at that moment, my dad just slayed in the Spirit for 2 hours in the living room of our house. And during those 2 hours, we had the guitar out and we were worshiping and we were dancing around, in the living room and just praising God, because we knew that the miracle had happened that we had been praying and hoping for. And truly, when my dad got up, he said, I want to go to rehab. And and he started having a conversation with me.
Yeah.
And that was the most amazing thing, because he began to have a normal conversation, something that medically could not happen anymore. Something that, medically doctors had told us, your dad will never be normal again. Your dad's overdose has damaged most of the cells in his brain. He is not gonna, and he would not have normal conversations, and he would hallucinate so much. And now, standing in front of him, listening to him have a conversation with me, was just, I said, Lord, it was that he did what he had to do, and he did it perfectly.
That's
And
beautiful, brother. Wow.
to this day, I mean, my dad, I took him to communion this morning. I had the opportunity to sing in mass, and Monsignor said, take your dad to Holy Communion. So I took him to communion, of course, keeping all the, safety measures of not getting close to them and stuff like that. But, I took him the Eucharist, and he was just, happy, and so how am I not just going to continue serving the Lord and singing his praises, and just, being amazed with everything he's done? So
Absolutely. And
share a little bit.
that's
about
beautiful.
my story.
Wow.
And talk about a testimony, man. But that is power. That was powerful, and I think it's crazy that you speak about all that, and I think it's important to remind people that God, the Lord, is ever present in the suffering. Like that's, St. Paul says that we're supposed to actually delight in our hardship, delight in our suffering, delight in any type of trial or tribulation, because that is when like God's power is made perfect in our weakness. When we are weak, he is strong. And so when we experience suffering, it's not easy. It doesn't make it easier to just endure it. You know what I mean? Hardship is by very virtue of that word being hardship. It's hard. We need to endure within that hardship. However, once we're able to learn how to do that properly, that is when, like I said, God's power is made perfect in that weakness and perfect in that hardship. And I mean, that's a perfect kind of way to explain your testimony in a sense, because his power was made perfect in the weakness throughout. You know what I mean? Like it's and at the end of the day, like you're right. Like God is a way maker. Like he keeps his promises. And so that's just so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us and all those that follow us and whatnot. Like, I mean, that's powerful, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I mean, especially in the way that, like, at least the way that your mom or your grandma was talking about, like in the midst of that suffering, you still maintains the God that you knew, that revealed himself to you, that had chosen you to bring healing into his family, which is just that, I'm sorry, this is just mind blowing for me. Like,
yeah,
to go through that and believe in God harder than ever, like wow,
right.
that is a blessing right there.
He uses us as tools, as instruments for his glory, for his plan. And like that's the thing that we're trying to do in this time, is remind people of that we are his hands and feet, we are his body, right? And so God uses, like I was saying at the beginning, God works everything for good for those that are in communion with him, and we believe that he's working good in this situation. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, who am I to say like that God is not working? When I see that friend relationships are being healed, family relationships are being healed, like all around the world, like nature and things in terms of like pollution going down, and rivers being cleaned, and all types of things that are happening across the world. And like you have to see where there is brokenness, like God makes something beautiful out of it.
Amen.
Yeah,
it's important to understand. It's not like God allowed this pandemic, or
right.
God brought us this pandemic, but God is
working,
glorified and working in the midst of all this that's happening
for his good. Yes.
Amen.
Come on.
Amen.
So good, man.
Yeah.
You were bumping like you were gonna say something, so I was like,
Gotcha.
We're very devout of St. Jude's, St. John Jude's, whose words have really touched our lives. That said, I want nothing, yet I want everything. Jesus, you are my everything.
Amen. Yes.
I think that is that is like our theme song for our lives.
We have a song, it's called Chiquito de mi Corazón. I don't know if maybe
yes.
The chorus says that, it says those words of St. John Jude's.
So good.
And I mean, those words are so appropriate for these times because, I mean, sometimes we feel like we've lost it all, and many people have really lost it all materially.
Yeah.
But many people have really found the true treasure, which is God, which is Jesus,
Amen.
in the midst of their hopelessness and their suffering. They found the true treasure, which is the love of Christ,
Right.
which is the most important thing in our lives, and it's what we should always be looking for and longing for.
Yes.
And I think
Absolutely.
for everybody that's watching this transmission and will see it in the future, just to have very clear in their heads, in their heart, that as long as you have God in your heart, as long as you have the love of Christ, His mercy, you've completely have it all. There's missing in your life.
Yes, and
Amen to that.
I think it's something of note about your story, Jesse, for all those that are watching right now. That like take Jesse's story as an example of how the Lord can use you during this time and during all times, like I was saying, to be His hands and feet. Like we have to be allowed the Lord to use us. You know, we have to give ourselves away to be His instruments, right? And so if you guys are going through a time where you are surrounded by people that might not have so much hope in their lives, might not have the light of the Lord in their lives, be that light. You know what I mean? Like that's what we're called to be. We're called to be the light of the world. And so if you have an opportunity to do that, please do. You know what I mean? That's what we're called to do. And He can use.
Oh, sorry. I mean, it doesn't matter how old you are.
Yes.
I mean, that's what I share with people when I do concerts and I share. It's like, it doesn't matter. God can use you if you're 5 years old, if you're 8, you're 9 years old. You can be the difference in your family. You can be the light for your family. If your parents are torn, if they're going through a divorce, or if they're already separated, or if there's addictions, or if there's any type of addiction in your family, or whatever, you can be the difference. That you're watching me, you are the difference. You are called to be the difference. You're called to be the light of the world. You're called to be the light in your family, the salt of the earth. So just don't be scared. I know it's scary because I was there and I was terrified. I'm not lying. I mean, no lie. I was terrified, but I had to surrender myself and believe that God was going to do something amazing in my life. And I wouldn't change anything. I would not change one thing. I mean, there were so many difficult nights, but at this point, I look back at my life and I would not change one single night, because every single night I saw God's glory.
Yes.
Every single day I would see God's, grace over me. And then, Davo came to the youth ministry when I was the diocesan youth minister here in Arizona. And Davo joined, he was 14 when he joined our youth ministry. He's now 72. No, I'm just kidding.
100 then.
Sorry,
Great day, man. Wow.
Serious there.
You look great.
I want to be like you when I grow up.
So, I mean, I remember when Tavo joined our prayer night. I mean, Tavo had 3 attempted suicides that he was carrying. He had an alcohol addiction already that he was carrying at the age of 14. And that night, I remember when he just surrendered to Christ, and God just transformed his life amazingly. And to see him in his struggles, and you should hear his story. It's crazy. But I mean, it's what God has done, and like the Lord told me, not only will you see the healing in your family, but I'm going to take you further, and you're going to see so many other things. You're just going to witness so much more, and I've been a witness. And if I'm singing, it's because I've been a witness. I mean, I'm not an artist. I know I have the good looks, but I may not be, I may not be this big artist. But I always share this in my concerts. I tell them, you know what? Maybe you were expecting to see this awesome concert, this awesome show, and maybe I didn't perform an amazing show. But I'm here to testify what God did in my life.
Amen.
And what He wants to do in your life. And so that's our main purpose in our ministry has always been that. It's just to be that guitar that makes the noise, but Christ is the one who actually strums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one who's
I
actually
like
true.
that.
Very
No,
true.
but Jesse, I just wanted to say, like, thank you for your vulnerability, both of you guys. Like, honestly, it's really rare to see. It's really hard to be vulnerable, with not only with ourselves but with each other. So I appreciate you guys just coming on here and just talking with us and just telling us your story, like just of who you are and like how God's using you, and just that being enough, that just how God is working in your life and how much God means to you. That's just enough, because God's enough for us. And I know that we can talk about this like all night and all day, but I think it's time to like wrap up a little bit. But I did want to ask the last question,
Let's
that
go.
for all the people who are looking and who are viewing this, to see like where they can follow you and like your Instagram, your Facebook, whatever it is that you guys are, Spotify, like how can they
We
reach
actually
you?
use MySpace.
Oh, I love my
Nice.
Classic.
You can purchase our cassettes. Well, all of our social media is all just Jesse Demara, Jesse, no IE. It's just Jesse Demara, Demara. So everything, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, everything is just Jesse Demara. So yeah, make sure follow us, follow our music.
Yes.
Those who are watching, this is the time to support your musicians, your Catholic musicians, your favorite local musicians, because there's no gigs, there's no concerts, there's no bands, there's no work. So this is the time to support your local music ministries, your parish ministries, whoever has, social media or music on Spotify. Listen to their, even if you don't want to listen to Epic Song anymore, just keep it playing. Lower the volume. But support music.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you.
For real.
We'll slide you the $10. We'll slide you the $10 to Venmo.
There you go.
And by the way, before we wrap up, just to our friend Mauricio here, un abrazo a ti también, mi hermano. We love
Un
Everybody,
abrazo.
todos viendo desde México, desde Latinoamérica, desde todo el mundo, from all around the world.
You guys, I pulled up
Thank you so much
Spanish.
for joining us.
pulled up
Thank you
Spanish.
guys, Jesse and Navo, for joining us tonight, and just a huge send off for everybody to have an awesome week, to stay blessed, stay hopeful, and stay in that love of Christ.
Stay home.
And stay home.
Hashtag stay home.
Amen.
Amen.